Hello and welcome to a new season of Conversations. This is our one-to-one on-site in-person interview series from around the world. And this time we are coming from Miami, where we are at the Air Cargo Americas and Transport Logistic Americas. With me in conversation today is Ajay Barolia, Executive Vice President Cargo for Swissport North America. Ajay, great to have you for this conversation.
Thank you, Reji.
Ajay, you've been with Swissport, moved from an airline to a cargo handling company, been an year and a half. You joined as Vice President Americas, and quite recently you've been promoted to Executive Vice President North America region. Tell us briefly about the journey that has been with Swissport in the last year and a half.
Superb. So firstly, thank you, Reji, for having me. Delighted to have this conversation. I joined Swissport on July the 1st, 2024. I joined as the SVP for North America, which also includes Canada. And when I joined, the remit was really threefold. One, transformation. Two, operational excellence. And three, ensuring that what we stood for was visible to our customers, clientele, and industry. So when I joined in the remit that I have, and over a duration of making sure that I got to understand our business a bit more thoroughly through detail, get to understand our people and values, and then to understand what our gaps were. So as I joined, my first real function was to go and identify our current gaps. What did we need to do to fill those gaps, whether that was through human capital, whether that was through infrastructure or technology, and then go back to the board to let them know this is what we need to do to transform Swissport Cargo North America. So over a duration of at least 17 months plus, that journey is already started. And now it's about the implementation of all of the things that we've seen from the previous year. So now we're in transformation mode where we are consistently innovating each of our stations. And a very good example is we're going to put a CapEx in place which starts next year for Atlanta Cargo, where we will enhance the infrastructure. And that's approximately about 4.2 million. So this is not small change. This is a significant investment which is needed for us to remain ahead of what we do with our competition.
Just for the benefit of the people who listen to this podcast, watch this interview, give us an overview of Swissport operations in North American market that you are responsible for, the number of stations, the airlines that you support.
Okay. So look, we have, if I break up our business, it's broken up into three categories. We have traditional cargo handling, which is our own facilities, which we have in a number of locations. We cover those through our centric hubs, which are like Chicago, Atlanta, Miami, New York, Seattle, Phoenix, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and others, as well as Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal. There are traditional cargo handling where we handle multiple customers in one facility. We have a second segment, which is where we do a massive labor contract for United Airlines across most of their hubs in the US, where we provide the labor proposition and we deliver the service on their behalf as their expected customers. And the last piece we do is that we do a similar version of that with Amazon, where we look after them in locations like Boise, Denver, and Chicago. And again, it's broken up into three different categories. So you've got three different deliverable expectations from them. But my role is to make sure we deliver each of those verticals day in, day out through service proposition. How do we get there? We get there by having trained, skilled employees who are fully conversant in the role they deliver today. We also recognize that whilst they're trained and skilled, safety remains a number one pillar, as it does for most people. I don't think we're unique, but I think it's how we treat safety. And for me, coming from a previous airline where I was the post holder, I fully understand the ramifications of failure. And that could be things of weight discrepancies, aircraft damages, undeclared dangerous goods. They still remain a problem in our industry today. And the only way we get to resolve those elements is through technology and enabling the tools to make us prevent rather than cure. So we're working through those tools that we have at Swissport Cargo today. One of the tools we have for weight prevention is an IWS, which is an integrated weighing scale. And what that effectively means, in simple terms, everything that goes onto an aircraft for cargo that is operated via our platform CargoSpot has got an automation tool that detects the weight accurately and talks to our CargoSpot platform, so there's no manual intervention. That is so important so we don't misalign statements of numbers or words. It's accurate. So technology will help us, but we need skilled people to understand what the technology is doing. What I don't want is a technology replaces people. Technology is there to be an enabler to support our people.
Ajay, you are part of the world's biggest cargo carrier, and during your tenure there, you worked with multiple cargo handling companies around the world. When you look at the region that you represent, what is your observation about the cargo handling infrastructure in this region, and how are you leading the transition of Swissport's facilities to modern and technology-enabled centers where speed, reliability, and transparency in cargo processing is on top of your agenda?
I think North America has some of the busiest hubs in the world. I mean, you've got the three biggest integrators in the US who operate from their respected hubs. But I think also the hubs are also uneven in some of our locations. If I take hubs that I consider are huge for us and big for us, Chicago, JFK, Atlanta, super, super big hubs for us. But what is also important is how we modernize it, right? We have to continue to modernize our facilities. We have to assess what's required for the customer's requirements, and we have to make sure we deliver at speed and reliability. The essence of everything we do is accuracy, speed, and reliability. Everything we will do to modernize and put the infrastructure in place is to make sure that we have a good environment for our people to work in so they feel part of it, but also to make sure that not only do we enhance it with systems, operating platforms, and GSE equipment that makes life easier, whether it's through electrical or whether that's through non-electrical, but I want to make sure that the facilities can accommodate every aspect of cargo handling. So that could be from perishable, pharmaceuticals, AVIs, general cargo, obscure cargo, and any type that we have. We just have to be ready to expect the unexpected. And we know today handling belly freight cargo and freighter cargo are two different aspects.
Good.
And I just want to make sure, and we are, that we have everything that's ready and prepared for our customers collecting either landside or, where permitted, airside, to make life so much more easier. So I think I'm delighted that we're making some good inroads. Our capital expenditure across next year has got a road plan of where we want to put that in. And it starts effectively with Atlanta with a 4.2 million investment, which is super important for us and also for our customer base as well.
How are you benchmarking Swissport's cargo handling quality against industry standards and competitors in North America? Are you setting a benchmark for the industry?
So I'd say, look, the first and foremost is we want to make sure we comply with IATA standards, right? So IATA standards is very important because it benchmarks everyone. There is a governance of what your facility should look like. And then you need to have the right certifications, whether that's SEAV certification for handling pharma or whether you're handling perishables. And you've got to make sure that you have all of the kite marks to make sure your facility ticks. So that could be ISAGO, that could be having DGR certified people that make sure they can handle the right categories, but also the skill set to make sure that the people you have are the ones that drive your facilities. Now, when it comes to benchmarking, for me, it's about recognizing that if you want to be the best, you're going to have to be different. And if you're going to be different, you're going to have to do something outside of scope. But cargo traditionally hasn't evolved in the pace we all look for. I mentioned on my panel yesterday about evolution of technology being the forefront of everything we do and automation being a given. But the only reason we are not where we are because there's not always an appetite on all sides to get there. Our role and my role is to work with the airport authorities to make sure they understand that infrastructure investment also equals a safe working environment. And I think it's really important that I want people to understand. On my watch, I'd always want people to able to go home when they've come into the workplace because all of our people are assets to our business. And without them, we can't function.
Ajay, you mentioned quite a few times about technology, and I do believe that technology is one of the critical factors of how you transition your current cargo infrastructure, not just of Swissport, but also the other operators. Technology will play a significant role. And then transformation of your systems and your facilities, to what extent are the investments going into technology transformation or use of technology, investment into technology, latest tools of artificial intelligence, data, in order to make these facilities really centers of excellence in terms of providing speed and reliability to your airline customers?
Sure. So look, I think the first and foremost is our cargo platform, our operating platform, CargoSpot, is able to interface with any airline system. So the EDI interface can work through messaging, through visibility, transparency, and also it measures us to see where we are against each of the carriers' SLAs, so knowing that we're delivering the key KPIs as we deliver. So it's a visible dashboard that we have, and data that's feeded into the system allows us to know whether we are succeeding, failing, or maybe not where we need to be. But for me, it's about how we manage the front end, so that's the customers, the forwarders, the truckers, and everybody else, and the back end, which is the ramp, airside, and land. So I try and do the two. For us, the first thing we try to do is make sure all of our facilities have got cargo kiosks. Cargo kiosks allows drivers to go in, do a self-service to make sure they check in their paperwork, the airway bill checks, and everything that they should have to either export or import, so whether they're collecting or delivering. And what that will do is that will save a lot of time going to a reception point to process your paperwork, reducing dwell. Now, a lot of drivers can and do that, and a lot of drivers prefer to go to a reception. So the choice is there for our customers. The second bit is, as moment we put in the data, it's visible on our operating platform to know what is the shipment, what is the type of product we've got, what is being picked up, and when do we need to make sure it's there. The bit that's always missing and is not always visible is slot bookings. And if we want to enable a kiosk, you also want to have a slot booking, because that goes hand in hand to reduce dwell time, which is what we want to do across all of our US stations in Canada, and also give the customer the opportunity to get in and get out. So it's all about speed retrieval or speed delivery. But if they don't go hand in hand, I can't manage the front, because now we're having to do manual processes. We're trying to get away from manual processes. We want our communities to understand the benefits of automation, but they also have to join in by helping us. So if I can get slot bookings done across the network, if we can get people to use the kiosks, then what that does is it safeguards the fact that we can serve them far more quicker. Our challenges we have is a lot of shipments for exports are ex-works. So what happens is the shipments are collected either from a manufacturing point or from a position of where the goods are made, and they come directly to us as the handler, which then we need to dissect and navigate what is acceptable, what's been screened, what's not been screened. A lot of the forwards bypass their own facilities, come to ours with documentation, and we feel that there's a lot of bottlenecks because it's not always marrying up. Cargo and documents don't always marry up. We're very conscientious of understanding that we will not accept anything that is not screened, or we will screen ourselves 100%. And equally, we've got to make sure it's customs compliant at all times. Nothing leaves without it being there. So we've got regulation compliance we need to meet. And we also have our systems to help us to make sure nothing leaves that goes on an aircraft that hasn't been cleared, secured, or built correctly for the right destination. So the systems help us. The people need to make sure they use them wisely. And we've just got to make sure that we don't override system manually, because sometimes that can also happen. But fortunately for CargoSpot, we have all the belts and braces to protect anyone doing that. And only if you're at supervisor, duty manager, or managerial level can you do that. But our systems are robust enough to know that it works very well today.
Ajay, are airport custodians and operators aligned with the growing need for more modern and efficient cargo facilities across North America?
So look, Reji, what I'm seeing is that we have a number of airports that are quite proactive in what they're doing with us as a cargo entity. I think one of the things that we're seeing is far better collaboration. We're seeing far better engagement with the community, and we're seeing far better involvement to make sure that our facilities remain at a standard that is acceptable from a safety point of view, from a service point of view, and from a cosmetics point of view. And why I say that is because, you know, when people come into the facilities, you want them to feel they're walking into a facility that they desire to be at, rather than to walk in and get out as soon as they can because we just don't accommodate them. So I'm finding the airports are engaging with us. We're working at all levels of airport, whether that's retail, whether that's infrastructure, and whether that's compliance as well. We must never forget that compliance fulfills our needs to remain safe at all occasions throughout our airwaybill journey to and from. And also, more importantly, how we handle aircrafts as well. You know, infrastructure is not just about the warehouse, it's also what we do outside of it, either in the front end or also in the back end. But I'm finding that we're getting better collaboration, and we're certainly also being proactive by engaging with our airport partners to be the very best we can in what we do.
Ajay, my final question to you is, what are your observations about the current global air freight market? We've seen a significant volatility during the course of 2025. How closely are you watching the air freight market?
Well, the air freight market has a massive impact in what we do. It could have an imbalance on outbound cargo or inbound, and both have got different skill sets that we need to resource for and plan for. But I think whilst you know, the volatility of the tariffs have impact positively or negatively, and it's uncertain, one thing is for sure that will not change. Speed, data is given, and transparency and visibility. And whilst all those markets do change back and forth, what we need to have is visibility of what our business is doing, and therefore looking at that data to analyze what we need to plan and prepare for. I think it's very easy to think that you know, having additional charters coming in, the market's all of a sudden changed. Well, we also have to look at what's happening with the shipping industry as well, because that has a big impact to what air freight does. So I think we're prepared to understand those changes as they materialize, but our role is to make sure we resource accurately with the right people, with the right trained people, so we can handle any peaks as they materialize.
Ajay Barolia, Executive Vice President, Cargo, Swissport North America. Ajay, great pleasure having you for this conversation. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Reji. Sincere appreciation and making time for me. Thank you.